I've been training at home on and off for a little over a decade. It's been sort of this slow evolution and accrual of equipment. At this point, I'd say 80 to 90% of my training is at home. And it's always been primarily about time savings. But now I can confidently say, like, I don't feel like I'm leaving any quality in terms of training sessions on the table by training at home versus going to a commercial gym. That being said, I still have a commercial gym membership. So I note that just because I think there's this assumption, or maybe more so just like a self-justification early on for a lot of people where they're going to save money in the long run by having a home gym. I think most people who've trained at home for a good bit of time, it's sort of like addictive in a way in terms of just slowly building things out. It's kind of a hobby in and of itself. You know, gym equipment isn't cheap, but the nice thing about it is it holds its value pretty well. I think early on, I started out with just a power rack, a bar, some free weights, and a bench. And I would say that's what I would recommend is sort of the fundamental equipment. You can get really good deals on Facebook Marketplace, especially if you're patient. I was fortunate enough, I got a power rack, I think it was 600 pounds of weight, and a nice barbell from this like disgruntled divorcee off Facebook Marketplace who was just selling all her husband's stuff, just needed to get rid of it. And so was lucky there. And I think I paid like $500 for like $1,500 worth of stuff. So sometimes gyms are closing. You can get a good deal on, you know, that they're just trying to clear things out. You can do a lot with just a power rack and, you know, a good bench, probably adjustable bench, you know, a good barbell, and then some plates. And, you know, there are some limitations in terms of sometimes like isolation movements like leg curls and leg extensions. You know, you can't really do them directly with a power rack, but you can still definitely do things like band-assisted Nordic hamstring curls or band-assisted reverse Nordics, or sissy squats, for example. So there's ways to work around it. So this is definitely the piece of equipment I use the most, just the power rack. And this is, I think, is the third power rack I've had. This one, though, I think I found the one I'm gonna keep for the rest of my life. Rep Fitness makes this. There's a lot of racks that are very similar. What I liked about this one is it has what's called the Aries on it, which is these weight stacks in the back. And so it allows you to do like pull downs. There's a low row there. And then also it's got like the adjustable cable trolleys. So you can do a lot with just a power rack. I think one of the other downsides I'd mentioned, like the hamstring curls and leg extensions being a limitation, but pulling movements, like unless you're doing barbell rows or pull-ups, you have limitations there. And so it's nice having a cable thing. So this is like the next thing I would graduate to, like a hybrid rack like this. And there's definitely cheaper options available now. There's some that are plate loaded. And the other thing is this bar. If you're going to be doing a lot of squats, I recommend getting some type of power bar that has center knurling on it. That way it's not slipping. Not a requirement, but something I would consider. One of my recent additions is this. This is company's Exponent Edge, and this is their infinity arm. And so I'll do like free weight rows on here, but one of the things I really like about it, and I did have to modify this a little bit, but I wanted to be able to do like cable rows. There's a lot of different settings on here that you can adjust the angle, the height. I wish it was a little bit longer, but I did have to modify it in the middle in order to allow this cable to go down through it. So there's like this metal sleeve here. I had to cut that out on the back side. So I have to put this on first and then slide this on, but now it's uninhibited and allows me to run the cable through it. And then this also has different settings on it. So cool addition there. It's definitely not a cheap power rack, but something that kind of builds two, multiple pieces of equipment into one. Calibrated plates, by no means necessary, but nice to have, especially when I was doing more powerlifting. Built a deadlift platform just out of plywood, some carpet, deadlift jack. I used to use this is a good, like, cost-effective deadlift jack. Steve Kleba, I think it's Kleba built, side deadlift jack, pretty handy. We got a landmine I can use. This is kind of the boneyard of equipment that I've taken apart and kind of modified. This is one thing I think people can overspend money on, is just like these novel cable attachments that they have a lot of, but they find they might only use 3 or 4 of them. So I use all these pretty regularly. I would get a good set of handles if you have a cable machine, but these, it's not like, there's not like a bushing or a bearing in them. So it kind of not great, but gets the job done. Multiple bars. This came from the disgruntled divorcee that I was mentioning earlier. Barely ever use it. I'm probably gonna sell that. Trap bar. And then my kids, sometimes they like using this, I think it's called the Oso bar. So it's just like a little miniature barbell. And I think one of the advantages of having a home gym too, if you have kids, is they can kind of observe, and hopefully, you can lead by example a little bit, and they can catch the fitness bug early on. Another thing that you'll probably find helpful to have is a set of dumbbells. These, I would never recommend getting a full set of dumbbells. These go 5 to 80. These I got from a gym that was closing. Weight is expensive. Like, you can get a really good deal. Like, if you can get $1 per pound, it's generally considered a very good deal. I got all of these for $200, and I will say I don't use them a ton. I could sell these, and I've considered doing this, selling these and getting like a good set of adjustable dumbbells. Rep Fitness makes a really cool looking set that goes pretty heavy, I think up to 125. But dumbbells are nice to have, for curls, extensions, dumbbell pressing. I probably would do dumbbell pressing more if I had heavier dumbbells, but yeah, it gets the job done. Then this is one of my favorite pieces of equipment. It's just an old school, like, standing leg curl machine, but it's like very even strength curve. It's very heavy. Like, I don't think there's any human being on the planet that could do the whole stack. I think usually I'm stuck between like 40 or 50 here. So plenty of room to progress with that. Yeah, some of those old pieces of equipment are really nice to have. So another piece that I would definitely put outside of like the essential necessities, it's definitely kind of a luxury to have it, would be a Smith machine. This I got, I think, for $900 from a gym that was closing, a really good deal. If I were doing it over, I would probably get something more integrated within the rack just for space purposes. This was such a good deal, I couldn't pass it up. But I use this quite a bit. I do a lot of incline pressing, vertical pressing, Bulgarian split squats on this. Undecided if I'll keep this for the long run, but it's definitely nice to have. And so there's a lot, like the Rep Aries, there's a lot of like fully integrated pieces that you can get that have built-in Smith machines. The only downside of stuff like that is there's only so much you can really do at once, and there can be a lot of adjusting depending on what you're going to be doing. So I like being able to kind of have different stations set up so I'm not constantly changing stuff. This was a surprisingly good purchase. Benches are expensive. Like, a good bench can run you, $500+. This one, it's kind of a knockoff. It's made by Kepi. Very heavy, very durable. Lots of adjustments, but this I would put on par with like a lot of like the Rep Fitness benches, but for significantly lower price point if you're looking to save some money. This is the Cybex squat press, in my opinion, the best leg press that exists, I believe. If you've used one, you probably know why. It's a very like even strength profile. And the only downside is just loading and unloading plates. Sometimes my wife will use it and get frustrated at me for leaving plates on it. But yeah, it's good. Like, unilateral pressing on this is awesome. You can do calves on it. Sometimes your heels can kind of hit this. I prefer to use like the Smith machine for that, but really good piece. This is another one where like I could probably sell it for more than what I paid for it. You might be looking at this wondering what the heck it is. This is made by Bulletproof Fitness. Probably like my favorite company in terms of what they're coming out with. It's called the Bulletproof Isolator. And so this just attaches to an upright. You can attach to your squat rack. I kind of Frankensteined an old glute ham raise and bought this little upright to kind of create its own station for it. But like, I have it set up as like a lying leg extension right now. There's all these different attachment points. You can attach the seat, you can do preacher curls on this. There's another port here if you want to raise the pad. And then this arm, they're on these sundials. You can adjust it, so you can do like superset between leg curls and leg extensions if you'd like. I prefer the leg curl I have over there. The one slight downside of this is it takes time to adjust. So I try to set it at a height that's kind of accommodating for whatever I am currently doing. They've got other attachments, like they've got this handle attachment here. If you want to do like preacher curls with it, it's kind of its own little ecosystem, but usually this weight horn will go on here. And so the strength curve it's not terrible. It's better than like a lot of like the cheap leg extensions on benches that kind of come with the benches sometimes. But right now, like, this isn't ideal the way I have it set up here, but I have it set up where like if I wanted to like load, higher up, I could, or like load the length in position a little bit more. Like you kind of have to hold down one spot and you can adjust this. But the downside is this isn't really designed for what I'm using it for right now, but there's some additional pieces that they're making that are a little bit more reinforced. They actually have like a multi-prong weight horn that you can buy, similar to like Strive and Prime has the 3-prong weight horns, but it's actually even more adjustable. A lot of the stuff, like the limitations with a power rack in terms of the isolation work, you could easily work around with this, or if you wanted to get like a hybrid leg extension, leg curl, that would kind of fill the gaps. This is just so, like sometimes if this comes up, like if I've had done leg curls before where I'll go too far and it'll tip the other direction, so that's just to stop it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If anybody has any questions, let me know. But I think you can't go wrong starting out. Definitely you don't need a power rack like this, but power rack, graduate to maybe like a functional trainer in addition to the power rack, and maybe a leg extension, leg curl. And then if you're tired of doing back squats, maybe a Smith machine or a leg press or something like that. But it's definitely going to be something that evolves over time. I think it's been 10 years in most of this stuff. I don't think any of this stuff I started with outside of the dumbbells. So there's a lot of cool like electronic resistance stuff coming out that's super portable, like the Beyond Power Voltra. I think Rep 1 is coming out with something you can build into a power rack on, I think, a trolley perhaps, but there's a lot of that stuff. It's new technology. With time, it'll be less cost prohibitive, and I think people will benefit a lot from that, especially with traveling and things like that. So anyway, thanks for watching.